where Elizabeth Short's remains were found.
Garrote? A garrote?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So strangled with a garrote?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay. Yeah.
I've been drinking. I don't
No, it's fine, but
know.
that's like a French term, if it isn't it?
hmm So police
Yeah. So
believe
it's
that the
yeah.
killer had struck again. They thought these two cases may have been tied. They launched another manhunt, probing both murders, but then eventually concluded that they didn't think these cases were related at all.
Oh yeah. It's basically saying they don't know.
Despite this long investigation, the Black Dahlia murder remains unsolved even today. Of course, many attempts have been made since to profile the killer. Some experts believe that he was a medically trained person, this killer,
If you cut someone in half, I mean, come on.
that he was male, obviously, and then he craved like the spotlight.
Well, he got it, if that's what he was after. Because, I mean, to this day, that was one of the most infamous murders ever, right?
Oh, totally. There was like 500 people who confessed to killing Elizabeth Short
Oh,
over the course of some years. The vast majority of people that claimed they had murdered her were ruled out and believed to just be sort of like attention seekers.
okay,
Just,
crackpots.
yeah.
All right.
Experts have also expressed some doubts that those letters that were sent by this Black Dahlia Avenger were even real
Really?
and were probably just a ploy or another whack job trying to just get some fame.
All right.
Elizabeth Short, by the way, was known as Beth to her friends. Some people called her Betty. She, again, was from Massachusetts. Her father had built mini golf courses, and he at some point had abandoned the family around the Great Depression time. So she grew up with her mom. She was sent to Florida at some point because she had asthma, and they were hoping that it might help her health. It was during this time that she met a guy in the Air Force and went to Vallejo, California to live with her father. They didn't really get along. At that point, I think her father maybe owned a little cafe or something, and he had given her a job, and she just refused to like work. And the deal was she would come live with him in exchange for like room and board. She would basically do all the house cleaning and take care of the house. And he said she was just really lazy and wouldn't do anything. So they had a lot of arguments, and eventually he just kicked her out. So they didn't have a good relationship. She left her father's, moved to Santa Barbara. She was arrested there for underage drinking, hence the fingerprints. They were able to identify her. She did have a police record, but it was just for underage drinking. A judge ordered her to return back home to Medford, Massachusetts, but instead she went to Florida for a little bit. She told her friends that she and this guy named Matthew Gordon, who was in the Air Force, were engaged to be married. He was killed in World War II in 1945, less than a week before the end of the war. That year, she returned to Medford, Mass., but soon was very restless, went back to LA. It was in 1946 she moved to Los Angeles, and it was shortly after her murder that Gordon's wedding announcement to another woman was found among her possessions. And that was the other part of it, is that she would often tell people she had a fiance in the military.
Right.
She was married. She was going to marry an officer, and then it would turn out that when they would track these guys down, they were like, yeah,
I barely know her.
I have a fiance, or I just met her one night at like a dance, and we talked a little bit, and that's it.
Right, talked a little bit.
So she would just tell people like these elaborate lies, and that was another part of like the background on Elizabeth Short that was kind of interesting. Is that she just was really all over the place.
Well, it sounds like she was
here, crashing there.
She was doing her own thing.
Money.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, it is when you ain't got money to eat and you like ripping people off and shit.
Well, as long as I don't. I've never seen evidence of an active scam she was pulling. She was just suggesting things that guys could do for her along the way that would help her in her daily life. That's okay.
Okay.
Because she had that currency, maybe.
I don't know.
That's that ancient currency. The oldest profession, if you will.
That is true.
Maybe a little bit of that, but she definitely had fun. She was living her life to the fullest.
Girl, for sure.
She was living her life to the fullest. It's really sad what happened to her. And I think we'll never get the straightforward
Well,
answer.
one of
to
the
it.
most interesting theories has been put forth from an LAPD former detective named Steve Hodel, who believes his father, I think his name is Dr. George Hodel. There's been like a mini series, and there's been a lot of discussion about it.
It's
He's
pretty
written
big.
some books about how his father, that was a doctor, murdered her.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that kind of makes sense. I guess the way she was eviscerated, if you will.
Well, I know that Steve Hodel had found in his father's possession a photo that he believed belonged to, or that was of the Black Dahlia,
Really?
that his father had taken at some point. So George Hodel, he's an interesting fella. He was, again, this doctor in Los Angeles, kind of a doctor to some of the rich and famous. There's been some stories that he would perform like abortions out of his house illegally and that kind of thing. He was also at some point accused of murdering his secretary, a woman named Ruth Spalding. Supposedly murdered her to cover up his financial fraud because he was like billing patients for tests that were never performed. He had police and politicians as clients performing illegal abortion services. He had worked for the United Nations Relief and Rehabilitation Administration, having gone to China for a time. Various aspects of the Black Dahlia case were believed to be in connection to surrealist art.
Really?
Dr. Hodel was a really big fan of surrealism and had wanted to be an artist at some point and really liked the works of Man Ray, and that the Black Dahlia was supposedly like this ultimate surrealist art piece.
Okay. Never heard that shit before.
In late 1949, his daughter, a woman named Tamara, accused him of incest and sexual abuse and impregnating her, and that he gave her like a back alley abortion. There's like this really highly publicized trial. They had 3 witnesses who said they participated in sex acts along with Tamar and her dad.
Okay.
But he ended up like basically making her look like a liar, and then, she'd made up this entire abuse allegation just for attention, that kind of thing. Then later, he becomes a suspect for the Black Dahlia murder. There's a whole file the LAPD has called George Hodel, the Black Dahlia file, and it was discovered in the LA District Attorney's Office. And the file revealed that in 1950, he was a prime suspect for the Dahlia murder. His private Hollywood residence had been bugged by an 18-man DA LAPD task force. And the transcripts of the conversations revealed Hodel's references to performing illegal abortions, giving payoffs to law enforcement, and his possible involvement in the deaths of his secretary and Elizabeth Short. They have a DA tape recording of him saying, "Supposing I did kill the Black Dahlia, they can't prove it now. They can't talk to my secretary anymore because she's dead. They thought there was something fishy. Anyway, now they may have figured it out. Killed her. Maybe I did kill my secretary."
What the fuck?
I know, right?
Seriously, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We just solved it.
Maybe.
We just solved a Black Dahlia murder on Mountain Murders.
Nah.
No, I think we did.
But some people have even thought that Steve Hodel Steve Hodel is the son, and his book was called Most Evil, Avenger, Zodiac, and Further Serial Murders of Dr. George Hill Hodel. He concludes that he thinks that his dad may have even been involved in the Zodiac murders.
What the fuck?
From 68 to 69.
Well, I heard a recent theory on that.
And that he also was involved in the Jigsaw murder in the Philippines, Manila, Philippines, because he went to live there for a while.
I don't know about the Jigsaw murder.
Yeah, there's some pretty interesting stuff. So
I heard an interesting theory about Zodiac murder.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah, on the last podcast on the left, kind of threw it out there that possibly the Zodiac murders were a hitman who had one target, but did the multiple other murders, just random murders, to cover up the fact that we're killing this one person.
That's pretty pretty elaborate.
Isn't that
cover-up.
crazy? But it kind of has a little bit of credibility because the way that Zodiac just disappeared and stopped.
It's a pretty hot take.
Isn't that a hot take?
I've told you that my theory is that the Zodiac is actually the Texarkana killer.
Yeah. Yeah, we covered that. We went over that.
I know. I've told you that before.
Yeah, I know.
I think the Texarkana killer evolved into the Zodiac.
That's possible.
There's like parallels.
So we just solved a lot of things tonight.
Yeah.
Just now.
No, I think Hodel is a very good suspect in the Black Dahlia.
Why wouldn't he be?
murder,
There's a huge file on him.
But then again,
He sounds like a dick.
if you really dive into it, I mean, she was just so all over the place and had so many dealings with so many
Random
men
guys. Let's be honest.
pissing them off because she's like taking
Yeah.
money and
Yeah.
just doing all the stuff she probably shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, but who kills someone and cuts them apart like that?
Somebody who's really pissed off,
That has a little.
I guess.
Yeah, but who's also a fucking psychopath.
Well,
Okay.
yeah.
So here we've been.
That is our very drunk new episode.
We're not that drunk.
Where
no.
we just talk about some random murders.
I'm going to call it Mountain Murders Unplugged.
What are we going to call it that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I feel unplugged right now.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.